Hey everyone, it's Anthony with Career Energy, and I just wanted to put this quick video together to show you students out there that have not been able to put a resume together yet, or maybe are just curious how to go about it from the very beginning, from scratch, if you will. I wanted to put this video together real quick just to show you that. So it's going to be a quick run through on how to do this. And before I get started, I wanted to mention that this is a supplement to a couple articles, one being the article we just recently published about how to put a resume together and what to actually put in the resume if you have little to no experience, if you're a college student. And so I highly recommend that you check out that article as well, and then you can always come back and reference this article when you actually go to build your resume. So that link to that article is below. And then the other article that we'll reference a little bit is the skills article, the 7 essential skills, career skills. And so that's a really hefty article that we put together a little while ago, but it walks through those 7 essential skills that we think are well, essential, but also they are going to make and break you when it comes to going out and looking for a job when you graduate. And those are the difference makers, trust us. So anyway, check out those 2 articles as well. But this video here real quick will show you how to put this together. So my starting point is to tell you that this is all done in Word. So if you don't have Word, then you're going to have to find some other software program and try to fit what I'm going to show you into that program. But most of us these days do have Word, and it's the best program to build a resume in, by the way, and it comes preloaded with plenty of templates, which is what I'm going to use. So I suggest that you start in the new section here in Word. And also, this is not a tutorial for Word at all. So the assumption also is that you know the basics of how to use Word. But anyway, you just go into the new section here, and then you can go up here and search for a template. You just want to type in resume. Once you get to this point, you'll have a bunch of templates here just for resumes. And what I recommend that you use is this resume color template. It's by far the most universal format that I've seen in my career. And for those of you that don't know me, I've been doing this for close to 20 years on the recruiting front. So I've been doing this for quite a while. I've seen probably millions of resumes at this point in my career. So this is by far the most relatable format that I can tell of all of these templates. And then my recommendation is to stay away from these fancy templates that are getting a little creative here with their style. The picture on them, I don't recommend that you put your picture on your resume. That's more standard for the folks over in the European countries. But here in the U.S., it is not nearly as common, and so I do not recommend that you put your picture on your resume because it will stand out, not in a good way. And so, and these styles are a little funky, so I recommend that you stay away from them. Some of them aren't too bad, but just stick with the old tried and true chronological resume and the basic format that you see here. So go ahead and go open that up. It'll pull this up, and then basically all you need to do is fill in your information. And so go in here, and then you'll just type in your name, obviously address, this heading section here, telephone, email. Make sure, just a little tip here on email, make sure that your email is professional. Don't have, crazy partygirl13@gmail.com. That's probably not the best email address to use when you're looking for a job. I know that seems pretty silly, but trust me, I've seen some emails that you'd be surprised by. So just keep it professional. In fact, you may want to just create a brand new email address through whatever provider you want to use or that you like to use. Gmail's by far the most popular, but just that way you can keep track and keep it separate from your other email. And definitely provide a phone number. I mean, we all have cell phones these days, but you're going to need a phone. I know that it seems like maybe you don't these days because we all text and we all check our email and so on, but definitely you still need a phone, and people will try and call and reach you. I know, again, that seems pretty obvious, but some people don't think about these things. For objective, the one thing I do recommend that you do is go ahead and change that to summary instead of objective. And the reason why is that, the objective section is a little outdated and it doesn't accomplish much. You have a limited amount of space on this resume here that you want to maximize. And so putting an objective up there doesn't really do anything for your chances here. And I know some other maybe HR folks or recruiters may disagree with me on that, or your career services may, but trust me, I just think that a summary is better. And all you need to put in your summary is basically a couple sentences describing what you want to be when you grow up. I mean, it really is that simple. So what are you majoring in? What do you want to be? I mean, what is your goal? What is your objective? And I know that sounds contradictory to what I just said about an objective, but a summary just quickly gives the reader, what it is that you want to do. And it isn't all an objective. It can be a combination of an objective. It can be a combination of some of your passions or whatever it may be. It's all combined into one summary. So that's why I recommend that you call that a summary versus just an objective. Education, pretty straightforward here. Just put your degree in there. The date earned, obviously if you're a student, you haven't earned your degree yet, so just put expected graduation date here, and then the name of your school. Put your major and minors in there if you have a minor. Be specific on that as well. And then related coursework would be things such as anything that's related to the potential career that you're going into. So any coursework that's related around your major, I would definitely enter it here. If it's again relatable to the career that you're pursuing, that's the key there. You want to make sure it relates. And then of course you want to put your GPA up here as well. And in the article that I referenced a little bit ago about what to put in your resume if you have little to no experience, I mean, GPA is critical. Don't ever not put your GPA on your resume. It looks as if you're hiding something. The rule of thumb is 3.0 and above, you're good. Anything below that, it's a little sketchy. So always put it on there. It's worse to not put it on there because then, again, it looks like you're hiding something. And they put a second section here to add another degree. So I guess for those of you that are in graduate school or earning a second degree, that's what this section would be. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and delete that section there. Next here, it has skills and abilities. One thing I would do immediately is go ahead and move experience up to above skills and ability and put skills and abilities at the bottom. And the reason I do this is just we want to highlight any experience that you have. And in fact, in the article that we wrote, again, about what to put in your resume, our advice is if you are, let's say, an upperclassman and a senior, junior even, and you have a lot of experience, go ahead and move that experience above education even. I think that that's perfectly acceptable because you want to highlight the most relevant information that you can possibly relate. I mean, you don't want to just put education at the top because that's what you're told to do. If you have a lot of relevant experience to your potential career, by all means, highlight that first because that's the first thing that people are going to see when they start reading your resume right after your summary. But if you don't, like most students, especially for those freshmen and sophomores out there, you definitely want to keep education here at the top and then go ahead and drop education underneath, experience underneath that in this format here. But underneath experience, it's pretty straightforward: job title, company, dates, for all of the relevant experience that you have. The key there is relevant. Don't be putting things on there that are completely irrelevant to a potential career. If you worked at a job, in 8th grade, I wouldn't put that on there because it's not relevant in the environment that you're trying to get into. But it doesn't mean that you can't put things like, if you worked at an ice cream shop over the summer, that's fine. But you got to put in that experience. How does that relate to what you're pursuing? What did you do in that job? Did you manage money? Did you do customer service skills with waiting on customers? What did you learn by being in that role? And you want to highlight that. And the other key that we talk about in the other article is to make sure that you use, of course, action verbs, which is very common advice out there. Make sure you're using action verbs to show energy behind what you're doing, but then also to show movement through your experience. And what I mean by movement is simply what was the starting point and what was the end point? What was different about that experience because you were in it? There has to be something that changed because you were in that role. So you want to highlight that and show movement and show the accomplishments that you had while you were in that role, not just list duties of what you did. That's boring. That's not going to put any context behind what you did, and it's not going to stand out at all to a recruiter or HR. So make sure you're putting some energy into this experience section. It's by far the most important section within your resume. And again, for those of you that don't have much experience, Highlight your educational experience, your accomplishments as much as you can. And then as you gain experience, you're going to be adding to that section as you go along. So we encourage you freshmen out there to be building this resume now and get your basics on here and then add to it as you progress throughout your college experience. And then down here on skills and abilities, it's pretty straightforward too. But the recommendation here is you want to reference the skills that you developed and that you gained while you were doing your work up here, and also while you were in college and some classroom experience as well. So it says here management. I mean, sales, unless you're going into a sales career, I don't know how relevant that would be. But, management, I think a better term for students would be leadership. And so if you were a leader of a class project, or, you had a group that you were the lead on, or if you were the vice president of a club in college, all those type of leadership type of roles is what you want to highlight here. And then communication would be, another great thing to put in here. Well, they have leadership down here. Communication would be, again, verbal communication, interpersonal communication, written communication. How have you stood out, and what kind of achievements have you gotten because of your communication skills? And then you want to tie this section here back into what I referenced earlier in the other article with the 7 essential career skills that you're going to be working on while you're in college. And you want to highlight those top 4 or 5 skills that you really honed in on and developed. And that's really, really going to help you stand out as you grow in your college career and eventually as you start interviewing for a job. So it's extremely important that you highlight these skills and abilities. I'd keep it to the point and pretty basic. I mean, you don't want to have 6 bullet points underneath each heading. So you can see here they have 1 bullet point under each. That's fine. If you can have a couple, that's fine too. But I think any more probably than 2, it's going to start getting into a pretty hefty resume. But that's really it. I mean, these sections are what a good, solid, basic resume is made of. It doesn't need to be any more fancier than this. The way it's structured here is fine. Just get your information in here. That's the most important thing. As far as length, recommendation is you don't want to go above 2 pages, but don't worry about keeping it just at 1 page. If it sneaks into 2 pages, you're perfectly fine. It has 0 impact on whether or not you're going to get a job or not, trust me. But if you start having 3, 4, 5, 6 page resumes, it has a huge impact on whether or not you're going to get the job or not. And that's it. That's all there is to putting a resume together. Hope that helps.